You're listening to Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. Call Don right now, 682-1270.
News Talk 1270 KIML. Don Carpenter Show. Welcome back to the program. It's 8:12, and I'm pleased to be joined in studio now by Dr. Gary Becker, County Commissioner, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Air Enhancement and all of the issues about that. And of course, at any point, if you have any questions, 682-1270 is the number. But before we get to any of that, why don't we just do a little bit of a background about what this Air Enhancement really is. And I think a lot of people have a little bit of a misunderstanding. I mean, even I had a bit of a misunderstanding about what it really is and what it actually means to the community.
Good morning, Don. Thank you for having me here this morning. I'm pleased to speak to you and to your listeners about this very important topic for the financial future of Gillette. In 2008, the County Commission in Campbell County started a program in which they would guarantee to SkyWest that they would not lose money. This was a minimum revenue guarantee. It was nothing. It didn't have anything really to do with a subsidy. It was only if they didn't, only just to keep them from losing money. This was to continue the level of air service that we had. Of course, despite doing this over the past 3 or 4 years, we have had decrease in air service, commercial air service to Gillette, and that Great Lakes no longer flies into Gillette. We are fortunate in that SkyWest is continuing to provide service under the auspices of United Airlines and Delta Airlines. Initially, the amount of money involved was small, but over the past year or two, it's gone up significantly. There are a lot of forces at play that tend to increase the cost of commercial air service, especially to small communities. By the way, I'm tending to go on and on here. If you have any,
no.
If you have any questions or anything, just break in and.
Well, I'll just kind of backtrack for a second, and I'm guilty of this as well. I just want to clarify that this is not really a pure subsidy. This is something that if the airline makes that minimum revenue, the subsidy goes away.
Exactly, and. For the first 3 quarters of the current fiscal year, our fiscal year ends 30 June. For the first 3 quarters of this year, the money that we've had to pay has been about 72% of
what was
of what had been forecast, and also need to clarify that more than half of this subsidy, or more than half of these monies, come from the state government. The legislature and the governor make these funds available to the smaller airports throughout the state. And normally the state has paid the majority of this. But each year the amount involved gets higher. In the current year, which is about to end, the state government was paying 55%, and county government was paying about 45%. The concerning thing about the amount involved is that this amount, which was small to start with, is growing very rapidly for a bunch of different reasons. But it's been going up by more than 50% per year. There are a number of forces at play that that are causing some of this. Number one is that the cost of doing business in a small market is much greater than in a larger market.
Right. There's no economy of scale.
Right, there's no economy of scale. For example, the fuel charge. This is for the handling of fuel. This is in addition to what the basic cost of fuel is. In the small airports in Wyoming, like in Gillette, for example, it's 75 cents a gallon. In Denver or Salt Lake, the airline has to pay 3 cents a gallon. But it doesn't mean that the fixed base operator is making more money here. It just means that the fuel has to be trucked in here, then it has to be unloaded, it has to stored, it has to be put in a truck to take into the plane. At DIA, for example, the fuel is brought in by pipeline directly under the runway, and it comes out of the underground storage directly into the planes. They don't have to put it into any trucks.
Right. So a lot of at least for the fuel, it's very labor intensive, and that's why the fuel charges would be more here.
Yes. Also the planes that are used in in Gillette, which are the propeller driven planes, are the newest ones are about 18 years old. I think they stopped building these planes in about 95 or 96. So any of you out there who are driving a 18 or 19 or 20-year-old vehicle realize the maintenance involved. The maintenance on these planes is going up tremendously every year. In addition, they also have the problem with more prone to have breakdowns, and that's why some of the flights are canceled because of mechanical failures. Obviously, none of us want to fly in an airplane that is at risk of mechanical problems. The federal government has also made some changes which have had an adverse impact on the cost of air service. Two of those went into effect of January of this year. One has to do with flight crew. Flight crew could be out of the cockpit for about 8 or 8.5 hours and could take another flight. Now they have to be out of the cockpit for, I think it's 12 hours. What that means is that Gillette has 2 flight crews that overnight in Gillette frequently, because the plane that gets in late at 10:30 or 11, they used to take the first flight out the next morning, but now they're not allowed to do that. So we have two flight crews frequently overnighting in Gillette, which obviously increased the cost. In addition, the amount of experience that pilots need was, I think it was either doubled or tripled as of January. There used to be a pilot or a co-pilot with, I think, 500 hours of flight time. Now I think it's gone up to 1,500. So this takes a bunch of pilots out of the pool.
Right. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but before these new rules went into effect, the crews on the propeller-driven planes were usually less experienced than like a larger jet.
Exactly.
So they would pay less.
Yeah. And also, which I didn't know until I got involved in all of this, is that flight crew gets paid on the size of the plane that they fly. So the smaller the plane, the less the flight crew gets. I think the pilots who fly some of these planes probably make barely $30,000 a year, which if you have to pay several $100,000 for your flight time, it takes you a long time to get that back. Another thing that has increased the cost of doing business is that about a year and a half ago, the SkyWest pilots, who are part of the Delta Pilots Union, made a deal. Delta made a deal with them to avoid a strike, that they would decrease the number of smaller planes, and these actually are the smaller jets in addition, decrease the number of smaller planes that they use, because that will guarantee the pilots higher income. So this has also cut down on the amount of small jets that are available. But
and I imagine it cuts way back in the number of turboprops that are available.
Yes, it does. And as I mentioned earlier, these turboprops are getting older, and some of them just cannot be maintained anymore, and they're just taken out of service.
It's kind of a dying breed.
It is. Talking about dying breed, it's also a dying service. In the past 6 or 7 years, there have been about more than 30 small communities that have completely lost air service. These were communities that were served by propeller-driven planes, such as we are. And the most recent one was Klamath Falls, Oregon. In April, they were notified by SkyWest that as of the 4th or 5th of June, they no longer would have air service. And the same thing recently happened to Modesto, California. Once these communities lose their air service from these small propeller-driven planes, I don't think there are many instances when they have been able to get air service back with the jet. About a year and a half or 2 years ago, when our board first started looking at this in greater detail, the writing on the wall became clear that if we weren't able to step up to jet service, the future of having any sort of commercial air service in Gillette was going to be slim. Along those lines, we are negotiating with SkyWest to upgrade to all jet service, and this is obviously going to cost a little bit more as far as the minimum revenue guarantee is concerned. However, it isn't anymore. Actually, it's a little bit less than what SkyWest has advised us that of the increased costs with the current
service.
Yeah.
And on that, why don't we take a short break, and we'll come back and talk a little bit about the differences between the different proposals. So with that, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. News Talk 1270 KIML.
Listen every Friday at 9 a.m. for Steve's Store, or visit thenewbasinsradio.com for the latest listings. Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. You're listening to Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML.
News Talk 1270 KIML. Don Carpenter Show. Welcome back to the program. It's 8:32. Don't want to get ahead of myself there. 8:32. And if you're just joining us, we're talking with County Commissioner Gary Becker, and we're talking about the Air Service Enhancement program. And in the last break, we did a little bit of a background and how it got started and why it's necessary. So why don't we talk about the specifics of the various options that we have to keep the service? Because there are several options.
Yes, Don. I'll get into that a little bit now. Currently, for the year about to end, the revenue guarantee is just over $2 million. The preliminary data we have from SkyWest is that to maintain the service as it is will probably be close to $4 million.
And that would be the turboprop service,
correct?
Right. How many
we have now?
How many flights a day is that?
We have 2 flights to Denver per day and 2 flights to Salt Lake City.
Okay.
One of the flights the early morning flight to Salt Lake City makes a stop at Rock Springs.
Yeah.
we have talked with SkyWest about improving to jet service, and at the present time, we are negotiating with them to get all jet service for less than what they want to maintain the current service with the prop planes.
Right, and actually, I think. Oh, I actually have my copy of that right here too. The negotiation for jet service would eliminate one Salt Lake flight, right?
Yes, it would. We would go from 4 flights per day total to 3. However, the number of seats would actually increase because the CRJ 200, which is the smallest passenger jet available as far as I know, can hold 50 people. So that would give us 150 seats per day compared to the 120 now. However, with this increased cost, our board is finding it more and more difficult to come up with those funds. And we've been in communication with our friends at the city, and we pointed out to them that in Sweetwater County, which is in a similar situation as Gillette and Campbell County, their cost of the revenue guarantee is borne by the county and the city of Rock Springs and Green River. And we've had meetings with the city and have explained some of these options and plans to them. And I think in keeping with the great cooperation that various government entities have had in Gillette for a long time, I certainly see that, or I certainly feel that the city will step up and become part of this. As an aside, Gillette and Campbell County have a reputation not only in Wyoming, but in the entire Upper Rocky Mountain area of doing a lot of cooperation. We cooperate on a lot of different entities, such as Complex, such as the fire department. The school district cooperates with the county on the rec center. So because of this great spirit of cooperation, I see that the city is going to come on board with some of this financial backing. I think everyone realizes of the great importance for maintaining air service to the financial growth and well-being of the community. The Campbell County Economic Development Corps leader, along with other people who deal and whose expertise is economic growth, state that it's almost impossible to have without reliable commercial air service. We recently had a presentation by people from the University of Wyoming about the possibility of a business incubator in Gillette. I think that that's a little bit premature at this time, but they also emphasized that there probably isn't any value in having a business incubator if we do not have commercial air service. So,
well, and I guess the key word that you mentioned is reliable commercial air service. And why don't we talk a little bit about that? Because I mean, one of the advantages, and we talked in the last break about why these turboprops aren't reliable. I mean, it is an older technology, but and of course the jets obviously have more capacity as well, which would also lead to less people getting bumped. I mean, and I've heard stories, and maybe you could kind of expand on this a little bit. I've heard stories of people getting bumped from these turboprop flights because of weather changes. It gets too cold, it gets too warm, the wind changes. It's not a reliable service compared to a jet. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's still not compared to a jet.
You are 100% right. The jets, even the small jet, can hold 50 passengers. So it makes it much easier to get connections, and they are not as prone to the variations in weather as the propeller-driven planes are. They also have to have consideration with load factors that are temperature related, but not as much. My friends and associates in the business world tell me that reliability, not cost, is the number one issue for them. But for the rest of us, like myself, who most of our flying is for personal or leisure business, cost also is a very big factor. I think that going to the jets probably will actually increase the ticket cost, because at the present time, if a plane only can hold 25 people or passengers, when tickets are sold, it's the first tickets that are sold that have the best price.
Hold on now.
Yes.
Increase or decrease?
I think the prices will decrease.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yes. Will decrease.
Upgrading the jets would decrease the prices.
Decrease the price.
Which sounds good to people like me.
Yes, and actually to everyone.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for this is because the first few tickets that are sold on any flight are the ones that have the best price. And as you sell more tickets for each individual flight, the price seems to go up. If you have 50 seats that you're starting from as opposed to 25 or 28, obviously the increase is probably going to be more gradual. However, our committee or our board does not have any control over any of the prices. But like in most other commodities, if we increase the availability of seats, we think that the price will go down. Another thing I want to get into is that I think that with an increase in reliability and an increase in the number of seats, that I think the planes will actually get fuller, and thereby that'll greatly decrease the financial risk to which all of the stakeholders are exposed. As reliability goes up, and if cost stays the same, obviously more people are going to fly. It's estimated at the present time that about 73,000 potential passengers that could use the Gillette Airport are driving elsewhere. And that comes out to about, I think, an additional 10 to 15 people per day. So if we had more reliable service and more accessibility, I think that the number of people flying out of Gillette would increase, and obviously that would decrease the amount of financial exposure.
Well, and by that you mean the more reliability the service has, the more people traveling out of Gillette's airport, the less the city and the county would have to kick in to meet that revenue goal.
Exactly. And of course the state in the past
and the state too
has provided half or more than half of this backdrop financial guarantee.
Right. And so let's just backtrack a little bit. So and talk about the specific numbers. And now, no changes, keeping things as they are right now. SkyWest predicts it would be about $4 million.
Correct.
And the county's proposal to upgrade all capacity to these regional jets, but eliminate one flight. Now, would it be the flight that stops in Rock Springs or the direct?
That
is up to Rock Springs.
No, I think it's up to us also. But
okay.
That part hasn't been worked out as far as I know, and that to me would not be a deal breaker either way. I think the important thing is to get the jet service.
Right. But that option would be $3.49 million. So it would be $500,000 less than keeping the current level.
Right.
Capacity would increase, and it would be more reliable. So it would actually save more than keeping things at the current level.
Yes, it it's very difficult to see a downside to that if we're going to continue to have commercial air service, which I think we need to. Even those of us who do not fly, I probably fly more in business than a lot of people do, but not as many as a lot. But there are many industries in Gillette that operate in not only many different states, but even operate internationally. And to maintain their financial success and viability, they need to have reliable air service. I have been told by CEOs of various companies that if they lose commercial air service, that they would not be able to continue doing business in Gillette or maybe even in Wyoming. We have a large industrial concern in Gillette that does work with Nassau. And the word with Nassau is that after their first flight into Gillette, none of the people who in Nassau come here anymore will fly into Gillette. They tell their people fly into Rapid City or Casper. So we're losing those types of people as well. So for a large number of reasons, we need to increase and improve our service. And I think not the least of which is that we run a great risk of losing our air service completely as these older propeller-driven planes are retired as they wear out.
Well, and that's also a distinct possibility as well. Why don't we take one more break and we'll come back and kind of wrap things up. And, of course, if anybody has any questions, we'll take those at that time as well. And we'll be right back. News Talk 1270, KIML.
The #1 talk show in Northeast Wyoming. Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. Call Don now, 682-1270. News Talk 1270 KIML.
News Talk 1270 KIML. And I don't know if you'll be able to call or not. We both just tried with our cell phones, and for some reason, at least with the Verizon phones, we're not able to dial the studio line. But I did try from a hard line. So if you do have any questions, you can try calling in, and hopefully it works. I know it's not the system here. There's something wrong with Verizon right now. 682-1270. 682-1270 if you have any questions for Dr. Becker about the Air Enhancement. And in the last break, we talked a little bit about why this is important, and the importance to the business community as well. Well, now I get a call. Hopefully, maybe somebody figured out how to this is from Rapid City, so maybe that's why it's actually working. Let's give it a shot. News Talk 1270, you're on the air. Hello, you're on the air. And there we go. Maybe the phones aren't working. Well, we'll push through. And if you get through, you get through. If not, we'll try to get all the info out for you anyway. So, and I want to kind of just get one thing out of the way. And we talked a little bit off the air. I mean, this isn't some kind of idea that the government is just going to be constantly shoveling money towards an airline that doesn't make money. I mean, this is a vital part of the community, right? It is, Don.
I philosophically am opposed to government subsidies at any level. And when I first came into office a year and a half ago, this is one of the things I wanted to check into. I realized that about 3 or 4 years ago, Gillette had a lot more flights than they do now. We even had flights to North Dakota. But upon checking into it, I found out that what the situation was nationwide, in that airline service to small communities was becoming a thing of the past. And I realized that a lot of air travel consultants and specialists around the country thought that most communities are going to lose this. So in the checking into it further, I realized that this wasn't really a subsidy. It was just a guarantee to have this business. The companies weren't going to risk it financially themselves. because the way things are in the country in air service today, the four major airlines are doing very well financially. Delta, for example, in the last 12 months, their stock price has gone up over 100%. So there is no incentive or financial reason for them to go to small airports. Obviously, SkyWest coming into Gillette is much less. It's a small fraction of 1% of their overall business. And so they aren't going to provide us any service at risk, and they just want to have their
Right.
risk covered. I also learned about the vital necessity of maintaining air service if a community wants to grow. One of the best analogies for this is going back to the 50s and 60s when the United States interstate highway system was developed. Most of the listeners probably are too young to remember that, but when these routes were first proposed and laid down, there was tremendous competition among communities to have the interstate go through their community, because they knew if it didn't, their community not only would not thrive, but it probably would go away.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think we might have a question here if the phones are working. Let's cross our fingers and hope it works. And of course not. Okay. Well, it's live radio for you. Well, and anybody that drives along old Route 66 can see those towns. And
yes.
for part of the way it's Interstate 40 and part of the way it's Interstate 55, but the old Route 66, some of those towns across Arizona and New Mexico just turned into ghost towns because they're not on the interstate. Okay, let's try the phones one more time. We'll try it one more time. News Talk 1270, you're on the air.
Hi, just Paul. I was checking my
Paul.
phone, and you're just checking our phones. I've had a number of people around town saying they can't get cell service.
Yeah, well, we can't get it here at the studio either.
Mine's AT&T and working, but I've had some Verizon people saying they can't get service.
Well, there you
Maybe
go.
we can find out what that's about.
Well, I know both of us here have Verizon, and our phones aren't working. So, well, there you go. It's something. There's a story we'll have to look into. Thanks, Paul. Oh, it makes me wish I had an AT&T phone now. Verizon usually has better service. So there you go. You have to use an AT&T phone or a landline if you want to get through.
You know, just because the county is helping helping provide air service here, please don't anyone ask the county to try to guarantee any of the phone service.
Well, maybe that's it might get us better. I actually I thought of switching to AT&T when I came out here, but I figured Verizon had better coverage. I guess not. Normally it does, but today, not today. I know we got a little bit sidetracked there, but I guess the important thing to take out of this is that it's this doesn't have to be a permanent thing. I mean, it's not a permanent thing if the demand is there and people buy the tickets. If this is expanded to jet capacity and that goes up, the demand will probably go up. I mean, I know a lot of people are scared of those little turboprops too, for good reasons. I mean, anybody I've ever talked to that came in on one of those things is white knuckles the whole way down. But once the demand goes up and once people start buying those tickets, the city, the county, and the state, their end goes way down. Or goes away completely.
One thing that I need to emphasize, which I haven't covered yet, is that I am not in favor of continuing this type of a revenue guarantee or backdrop for a prolonged period of time. I'm really working hard to get this jet service established, and then it'll be up to the people and industry in the community to make it work. I myself would not support anything like this that went on for year after year.
Right.
This would have to work on its own. But I think just like a lot of other businesses, sometimes they need a little help to get started. And then if they show that they are providing a valuable service, then it needs to become self-sufficient. So I really need to emphasize that this is not something that I am a proponent of for long term. I'm talking about maybe 2 to 4 years, and not even at this same level. But as we're realizing this year, the level is actually only about less than 3/4 of what we were obligated.
Okay, and I think we might have a call here. I think it's our buddy Duff. Good morning, Duff. You're on the air.
Donnie Carpenter, how are you?
Good. I take it you're not calling from a cell phone, right?
No, I'm calling from a landline.
Okay, well, that's how you got through.
Good morning, Duff. Morning, Duff. How are you?
Funny. I'm doing good. As far as the airplane fiasco, 2 words: corporate welfare.
Well, we're trying to get away from it. I guess that's the point.
Well, we aren't going to get away from it. Before it's all said and done, we'll get the jets in here for the big businesses around the area, and we'll be paying for it.
Well, as I said, Duff, I'm not for that. I'm for getting this established for 2 years probably. Then if it doesn't make a go of it, this is not something that I would be willing to consider supporting at this level.
Okay, and I want to thank you for the call. I think that's what a lot of, and I'm sure Duff is probably speaking for a lot of people too. I think a lot of people, and when I first saw this, that's the first thing I thought. I mean, that's the first thing I thought. But I guess the bottom line is that this can be done in a responsible way, and this would be looked at year to year, I'd imagine, right?
This is always looked at year to year. As a matter of fact, the current contract expires the 30th of June, and it's only about 4 weeks to the start of the new contract. So we hope we get something fairly quickly. Yeah, I really need to emphasize this is a year to year project, and without city help, I'm not even sure that our board would be willing to swing this at this time.
Right.
But all of us realize of the great importance that this is to business and the corporations in Gillette. Regardless of what one feels about the corporations here, many jobs in this community, especially the well-paying jobs, are dependent upon these large businesses.
Okay, and hang on. As I saw Duff called back, I must have cut him off before he finished. Just a hypothetical. Say you mentioned 2 to 4 years. Say at the end of 4 years, this is still. They're asking for even more. Would you be willing to let it go away at that point?
I would not put money into it anymore. And
okay.
Obviously, at 4 years, if I'm still in this position, that means I would have to run successfully as a candidate again. And I'm sure that my friend Mr. Duffy and others would have a strong voice in that.
Well, so I mean, you're willing to cut them off at some point.
Yes.
Okay. Duff, sorry, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
I figured you just got tired of me and hung up on me.
Oh well, I'd tell you.
I'm used to it. Being in Campbell County, I'm used to that. But the only thing that happens year to year is on a yearly basis they decide how much money we're going to give them.
Well,
they come up with a master plan, and every year they decide how much more money we have to give them.
Oh, you got anything for that?
Well, yes. It may seem like that. However, we don't give them what the amount was. As I pointed out earlier, we gave them only about 72 or 73% of what they could have been entitled to, because these numbers are looked at by the state of Wyoming government. The Wyoming Department of Transportation, their aeronautics division, they look at all this data and numbers, and they are the ones that say what the amount is. So it isn't anything that we necessarily subsidize them. This is amount that the state government says that they are owed on the basis of their cost plus 5%. And
I do have to hang up on you this time, Duff, because we're out of time. But I guess the other thing is, if you don't want the government to be using the city or the county or the state to be using tax dollars to pay for this, there's an easy way to fix that. It's buy airline tickets. Instead of driving to Rapid or driving to Denver, you can buy your tickets here. I know I would have. I mean, I don't want to drive 2,000 miles for my vacation, but that's what I'm going to do because I waited too long.
That's the best answer I've heard, Don. That's excellent.
Well, and that's the thing. All these local businesses that are pushing for this, you got to step up and buy the tickets.
And we got to keep in mind, a lot of the good jobs in Campbell County are paid for by the large businesses, and the smaller businesses that we have, some of them would not exist if it wouldn't be for the larger players, for the coal companies, for the Cyclone, for L&H, for Joy Global, and hundreds of others.
Yeah, and all these guys. I mean, everybody has to do their part, and maybe we can keep this thing going. But I want to thank you, Dr. Becker, for coming in. Just any final thoughts? I mean, if anybody has any questions, how can they get a hold of you?
All of my telephone numbers are on the telephone book, or they also can get hold of numbers at the commissioner's office at the courthouse, which is also in the telephone book.
Okay. Well, since we finally got the phone problem fixed, we'll take one more. We have a couple of minutes. We can take one more. News Talk 1270.
Hello.
Yeah, you're on the air.
I got a question about Berdahl. How can he be called a prisoner of war if he's walked off the base and deserted?
You're absolutely right. He's a deserter, but I don't know what that has to do with anything. But he's a deserter. I mean, you got any comments on Berdahl?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I can make a comment on that. I served many years in the military, and a prisoner of war can be anyone. You can just give him that title. It's just like taking a hostage. It doesn't matter how he got there. I and anyone else who's been in the military strongly disapprove of this type of activity. I don't think that we should have gone out of our way to bring someone back who went there of their own free choice and of their own free will, if that's exactly what happened. I wasn't there, so I don't know that 100%.
Well, did you plan on talking about that today?
No, I didn't.
No, well, see, I didn't know you served either. So there's an expert military opinion there. I'm sure I'll probably talk about that tomorrow. So if you want to call back tomorrow, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. But I want to thank you again for coming in and telling us a little bit about the Air Enhancement. Now, I have a greater understanding of it now, and hopefully everybody listening does too.
Yes, I really want to thank you, Don, for letting me have this opportunity, because there are a lot of misconceptions out there, and I just need to emphasize that this is something that we are attempting to do to maintain and improve the financial viability of Gillette and Campbell County. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to clarify this issue a little bit better for some people. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see you sometime soon. And with that, we're going to take our top of the hour break. We have Fox News Basin Radio News coming up. When we come back, I'm not quite sure if our next guest will be here or not, but if so, we'll talk about what's going on over at Camplex. If not, we'll do something else for a few minutes. News Talk 1270 KIML.
Always the best local guests and interviews. Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. 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 KIML.